Stay with me tonight. Dying billionaire heiress calls single dad by mistake. It began with a phone call no one was supposed to make. At 2:17 a.m., a man's life crossed paths with a woman who had everything, except time. And by the time the sun rose, both would discover that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can rewrite the meaning of forever. The shrill ring sliced through the heavy stillness of Jacob Turner's apartment. He woke instantly, heart pounding. Disoriented by the sound that didn't belong, the phone vibrated across the coffee table beside an empty mug and a stack of unpaid bills. Unknown number. He almost ignored. And no one calls at this hour unless something's terribly wrong. Hello? His voice was rough, half asleep, a faint rustle. Then a whisper, shaky, desperate. Please. Don't hang up. He sat up straight. Who is this? James, please. I need you. Room 814, Memorial Hospital. Please come now. Jacob frowned. I think you have the wrong number. But then came the sound of soft crying, a woman fighting to stay composed. Please. I don't want to be alone tonight. Something in that voice, loneliness wrapped in fear, cut through him. Jacob hesitated only a moment before answering softly. I'm not James, but I'll come. Just hold on. The roads were empty, glowing orange under flickering streetlights. Jacob's beat-up Chevy groaned as he sped through the rain. Wipers squealed against the windshield. Each red light felt like an accusation. He didn't even know who she was, but he knew what it felt like to be scared and alone at night. Ever since his wife, Laura, died 2 winters ago, he'd lived half awake, fixing cars by day, falling asleep on the couch by night, raising his 9-year-old son, Noah, the best he could. The sound of her crying replayed in his head. By the time he reached the hospital, his hands were trembling. The nurse at the reception desk looked up. Room 814, he said, breathless. Family? She asked. He hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, family. As the elevator doors closed, he caught his reflection, unshaven, eyes tired. He looked nothing like someone who belonged on the 8th floor of a private ward. Still, he went. The room was dimly lit, monitors blinking softly. She lay on the bed, pale, fragile, copper hair spilling over the pillow. When her eyes opened, confusion flickered. You're not James. No, I'm Jacob. You called the wrong number. A pause. Then, against all logic, she smiled faintly. Then I guess the universe sent me someone else. He wanted to leave. Every instinct said this wasn't his place, but her voice stopped him. Would you stay? Just for a while? He nodded, dragging a chair closer. For a long time. Silence filled the room, broken only by the rhythmic beeping of machines. Finally, she whispered, My name's Evelyn. Jacob, he replied quietly. She closed her eyes. Thank you for coming, Jacob. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel like a stranger to someone's pain. The door opened. A doctor stepped in, clipboard in hand. Ms. Gray, we need to discuss your test results. Evelyn's jaw tightened. You can speak freely. He's a friend. The doctor hesitated but nodded. The leukemia has progressed faster than expected. We'll start a new treatment tonight. The next 24 hours are critical. Evelyn only nodded, but Jacob saw her hand clench the bedsheet until her knuckles whitened. When the doctor left, he spoke softly. You didn't seem surprised. I've been dying for months, she said, almost laughing. I just didn't think it would feel so quiet. Jacob swallowed hard. Anyone I can call family? Her gaze drifted toward the window. None who'd pick up. The weight of that truth hung heavy between them. He didn't know why he stayed. Maybe because leaving felt like betrayal. Her name finally clicked. Evelyn Gray, the sole heir of Gray Holdings, the billion-dollar real estate empire. He'd seen her on magazine covers once, smiling under chandeliers. But the woman lying here wasn't that person. She looked human, tired, alone. He caught her watching him. You recognize me? Hard not to, he admitted. You're everywhere, she smirked weakly. Everywhere except where it matters, Jacob chuckled softly. Well, you're in room 814, that's somewhere. For a moment, her lips curved into a genuine smile. Do you always make jokes in hospitals? Only when someone looks like they could use one. Outside, thunder rolled. Inside, something fragile began to shift. Two people from different worlds. One who'd lost everything, one who'd never learned to hold on, sat in quiet companionship, sharing nothing but borrowed time. Hours passed like whispered secrets. Between IV drips and nurses' footsteps, Evelyn began to talk about her father's empire, the board that wanted her gone, the ex-fiancé who left when she got sick. People disappear fast when you stop being useful, she said softly. Jacob listened, his rough hands folded in his lap. I get that, he replied. When my wife died, some folks stopped calling. Guess grief makes people uncomfortable. Their eyes met. The air between them thickened with unspoken understanding. You miss her, Evelyn said quietly. Every day, he admitted. But my son keeps me moving. She smiled faintly. Then you're luckier than most. Her gaze drifted toward the rain sliding down the window. I used to think love was about grand gestures. Turns out it's just someone showing up when you're scared. Jacob looked at her, realizing that's exactly what he'd done. By 3 a.m., Evelyn's breathing grew shallow. Her body trembled under the strain of medication. Jacob stood helpless beside her, fear clawing up his throat. Breathe, Evelyn. Just breathe. Her eyes fluttered open. Don't let me go. I'm right here, he said firmly, gripping her cold hand. Doctors rushed in. Machines beeped faster. A nurse asked him to step outside. But he refused. He couldn't leave. Not when she'd asked him to stay. Through the chaos, Evelyn's gaze locked on his. For a brief second, she looked calm, like the storm had passed through her, and then her pulse steadied. The doctor sighed in relief. She made it through the reaction. For now. When the room cleared, Jacob slumped back into the chair, drained. Evelyn whispered weakly, Still here? He smiled through tears. You're stuck with me, remember? The first light of dawn painted the hospital walls in gold. Evelyn's eyelids fluttered open to find Jacob asleep beside her bed, his head tilted, exhaustion etched across his face. She studied him quietly. This stranger who'd come when no one else did. Jacob, she whispered. He stirred. You made it through the night. Her smile was small but real. Maybe because you didn't let me give up. He shrugged, eyes soft. I just kept my promise. Evelyn laughed gently. You sound like someone who's forgotten how to quit. Maybe, he said. Or maybe I just remember what it's like when no one stays. Silence settled again. Comfortable this time. Outside, the city stirred awake. Unaware that two people who'd started the night as strangers now carried each other's quiet gratitude. The nurse brought breakfast trays neither of them touched. Instead, Evelyn asked, Tell me about Noah. And so Jacob did. His son's fascination with engines, his stubborn independence, his missing front tooth. Evelyn listened like she'd been starved for ordinary stories. Do you think he'd like me? She asked softly. He'd ask if you were a princess, Jacob said, smiling, and I'd have to tell him yes. For a moment the room felt like a kitchen table at home, sunlight spilling across laughter that had been missing for too long. Evelyn's eyes glistened. I wish I'd met someone like you sooner. Jacob didn't answer. Some things are too fragile for words. Later that day, a lawyer arrived with documents. Evelyn rolled her eyes. They never stop, do they? Jacob stood awkwardly by the door. Should I give you privacy? No, she said quickly. Stay. The lawyer cleared his throat. Miss Gray, your estate arrangements... I've made changes, she interrupted. I'm donating most of it, the man blinked. To whom? Evelyn's gaze fell on Jacob. To people who actually show up. Jacob froze. Evelyn, you can't. I can, she said softly. You taught me something last night. Money means nothing if it doesn't touch someone's heart. Tears welled in her eyes. I spent my whole life surrounded by people who wanted a piece of me. You're the first who came without asking for anything. Jacob swallowed hard. Then don't thank me. Just get better. By evening, her condition worsened. The beeping grew erratic. Nurses moved quickly, whispering terms Jacob didn't understand. He pressed her hand to his chest, voice breaking. Evelyn, please. You're not done yet. She blinked slowly, tears escaping the corners of her eyes. Jacob, she breathed. Do you believe people meet for a reason? He nodded. I didn't before tonight. Then promise me one thing. She whispered, tell your son to never stop believing in second chances. Her breath hitched, the monitors flattening to a single endless tone. Jacob's heart shattered. He leaned close, whispering, stay with me tonight. But she was gone. The room fell into an impossible stillness. Jacob sat frozen, hand still clutching hers. Rain tapped softly against the window, like the world was mourning too. When the nurse entered, he didn't move. Sir, we're so sorry. He nodded faintly, his face hollow. Outside the hospital, dawn broke again. The world kept turning. But something had changed inside him. Like a door he didn't know existed, had quietly opened. He didn't just lose a stranger that night. He'd found something too. Proof that even the smallest kindness can echo beyond death. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. No return address, just his name, handwritten in graceful cursive. Inside was a single page. Dear Jacob, you once told me your son loves engines. I've left something for him at Gray Motors Foundation. It's not money, it's a future. Thank you for showing up when no one else did. You gave me peace, love, Evelyn. Jacob pressed the paper to his chest, tears falling freely. He looked out the window where rain fell just like that night, whispering against the glass. Maybe angels don't always have wings. Sometimes they just call the wrong number. At Gray Motors Foundation, a manager handed him an envelope. Inside were papers establishing a scholarship fund in Noah's name for children of single parents. Jacob stood speechless. Evelyn's legacy wasn't in the wealth she left behind, but in the love she rediscovered too late. As he signed the documents, he felt her presence, a whisper at the edge of his heart. Sometimes, the people we save end up saving us more. Months later, Jacob sat in his small living room. Noah worked on a model engine beside him. Humming softly, the TV played quietly in the background. His phone buzzed. A message reminder, Memorial Hospital, room 814 anniversary. He smiled sadly. Dad? Noah asked. Why are you smiling? Just remembering someone who taught me what staying means. Outside, rain began to fall, soft, rhythmic, familiar. Jacob looked out, whispering into the quiet, stay with me tonight. And forever in memory. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, like, and press the bell icon for more emotional true-style stories, because sometimes all it takes is one unexpected call to remind us that love doesn't need a lifetime, just the courage to stay.